Starting from scratch, you're not limited in time or direction or otherwise, and yet this video may seem pretty conventional, never mind the weapons. What I invite you to look at is 5 identical Intercessor minis, the ones you get with the Getting Started with Warhammer 40k magazine. Each model displays an Ultramarine Successor chapter from the list of those known to exist as Primaris, with at least some proof. Angel's Revenant, Aurora Chapter, Black Consuls, White Consuls, and the Emperor's Spears. Assembly offers certain challenges, one of the most serious among them being mold lines, so be sure you get rid of them if your patience allows that. Even after I started making this video, went through certain steps, including the primer, I later noticed spots where sprue marks or mold lines had been left undetected by me. With all the experience the manufacturers may boast, the GW still uses second-best solutions in making some details and parts of their models. You can traditionally encounter that when looking at ripped or thin and delicate parts. Yes, we should say the quality is improving as years go by. Still, I'd rather skip the mold line removing part. On second thought, I should show that explicitly. With the Emperor guiding my knife, as soon as you start this operation it doesn't seem that overwhelming anymore. Having other tools of convenience, for some reasons I still prefer a knife to strip off the excess plastic from the model parts. This specific monopose miniature requires certain skill and a considerable amount of time to prepare it properly for painting, probably more time than many other models that may be more complicated but are actually produced in a more accurate and neat manner. One more thing, remember not to use too much glue when bringing the pieces together. Angel's Revenant, the 8th founding. I base coated the armor with a mix of macrame blue and iron hand steel, then painted the pauldrons and the right knee pad with white. I painted the bolter and the inter-armor spaces with black base coat, applied washes throughout the model. I used a template to paint a black tactical arrow on the pauldron. I took a decal skull as a basis to freehand the black and white chapter sigil on top of it. Painting the Aquila details with gold is a bit tricky just because I didn't bother to arrange the painting of the figure separately from the arm holding the bolt rifle. Never mind. Here we base coat the leather belt backs, and then the next steps are all about the miniature base, depicting which appears to be the ruins of some stone building. Yes, normally we put the chapter iconography on the left side and the combat role designations on the right side, but maybe exactly this new Space Marine serves had a bad night before helping him to put on his power armor. Here again, I make the washes part and pick out details like bones and stone fragments. I make several touches of gunmetal color wherever required. Then comes the second coat for the armor, which really takes certain time if you want it to look nice. I found no uniform approach to understanding the base color of the armor. Some of the Imperial records say it should be cobalt blue, while in the others it is dark blue. For sure it is different from ultramarine, meaning the specific shade of blue, but there is no common vision among those who paint miniatures. Some make it even close to dark purple. Next is the highlighting part. Here is where I paint the outstanding details and make additional highlights in the main spots: the helmet with its lenses, the backpack and the parchment. I take my time to make some final highlights and add some minor accents to the model. Close to extinction, however allegedly re-established or brought back to life from a handful of survivors by the Torchbearers after a fierce battle with the Necrons and a lithosphere cataclysm on Lebethra, the home world of Angel's Revenant. This is where the chapter's Primaris story begins. For benchmark and aesthetic purposes, let's see how the Angel Revenant looks next to the regular, everyday, normal Ultramarine. The next miniature represents the Aurora Chapter, allegedly second founding. This time I painted the black parts first, to give the model some kind of pre-shading for a change. Then I base coated the model with a contrast paint and started painting the details and minor parts. I gave the armor the second layer of paint and made some of the highlights. Originally based on the Forge world of Firestorm, the chapter boasts more vehicles in their armory than many other Space Marine chapters, and therefore is historically known as master of the lightning-fast, heavily armored assaults. With a great deal of their tanks and Rhinos manufactured on their industrial home planet, these are starters wearing forest green armor never need fear ammunition shortages. The sigil on their right pauldron allegedly symbolizes a bright star under which they once fought. I placed an iron halo decal on the left pauldron again, using it as a template for painting the White Chapter star-shaped sign on it. And yes, this Space Marine may resemble the famous green Dark Angel armor. Still, there is certain difference between the two color schemes. And yes, the Dark Angel story may later be subject of another video on this channel. Please welcome the Black Consuls Chapter, 2nd Founding. They were originally a chapter based on a spaceborne fortress monastery. After their fortress was destroyed by Intercessor, the Black Consuls relocated groundside to the planet Cyclopia. Based on their home world, this old chapter is known as one of the 20 chapters founded to make up the Astartes Praeses, a never-vigilant Space Marine task force assigned to guard the Imperium regions surrounding the Eye of Terror. Their history being rich with battles they won, the Black Consuls are known as stern and uncompromising and unusually brutal in their combat tactics for an Ultramarine Successor chapter. The major part of the Black Consuls chapter warriors were annihilated in the siege of Godeth Hive in the 41st millennium by Chaos Space Marines. Those battle brothers who had been scattered across the Imperium while assigned to various detached duties survived. Following the start of the Indomitus Crusade, the chapter was returned to its full strength with the introduction of Primaris Space Marine reinforcements upon Cyclopia, and started their duty as guardians of the Imperium in the Segmentum Pacificus. Free-handing the White Eagle head was not an easy, yet a pleasant thing. And here we have this Intercessor in its black armor, ready for battle. White Consuls, 2nd Founding. Unlike other Astartes chapters, this one is unusual in that it maintains 2 chapter masters at the same time. The White Consuls are pious, zealous, and uncompromising Space Marines that have a deep and abiding faith in the Emperor of Mankind. They have a notable history of participating in campaigns of major significance, especially in the 41st millennium, such as the Gothic War and the Siege of the Bars Gate. Later on, 10 companies were deployed to counter the 13th Black Crusade, after the fall of Cadia and the birth of the Great Rift. The White Consuls chapter Helm World of Sabatine was overrun by the Death Guard war bands, turning the planet into a demon world. And yet the chapter itself managed to survive and be reborn, crossing the Rubicon Primaris, after which their time came to join the Indomitus Crusade. Painted white armor seems more challenging than the other color schemes for me, and you can notice that it's far from neat or nice. However, this gives me certain experience that can help me paint the white scars. Again, the arrow and the eagle's head are freehand blue and white on the pauldrons. Alongside the black consoles, with the same eagle of different color as their sigil, the White Consuls chapter is part of the Astartes presses. And now let's have a look at one of the Emperor's Spear's 25th founding. Hailing from the ocean world of Nemeton, the chapter was created during the latter half of the 40th millennium, which makes it a relatively young space marine chapter. They diverge substantially from the organizational dictates of the Codex Astartes. They have a vast chapter fleet and specialize in air-to-ground warfare and orbital drop assaults. The Emperor's Spears was one of the 3 chapters that once made up the Sentinels of the Veil, that once stood watch over the Imperial worlds located in the backwater region of the galaxy called Elara's Veil. Due to separate tragedies suffered by their fellow chapters among the Sentinels of the Veil, only the Emperor's Spears remain as the stalwart protectors of the scattered worlds of this region from the horrors of the Outer Dark. Records tell us that they are barbarian watchmen against the Outer Dark, bloodied but unbroken in their long duty. Even in their relatively short history, the Emperor's Spears have clashed with Aurora Chapter, their fellow Space Marines, during the Yukari insurrection. So ruinous was the conflict between the 2 chapters that the Ultramarines themselves had to intervene to quell the unrest, ruling that the Emperor's Spears were to blame for the blows they were exchanging. Since the opening of the Great Rift, visible from Nemeton, their planet, the Emperor's Spears have been beset by new dangers. Hard-pressed by constant war and isolation following the loss of their fellow chapters, the Emperor's Spears now stand upon the brink of destruction, and their future is not clear. Not painting their pauldron trims with the relevant company's colors, they prefer to wear trinkets, talismans, serpent scale hides, and fur pelts on their armor, which may remind you of space wolves or salamander. Finally, we have all 5 Battle Brothers displaying the colors of their respective chapters, standing next to the vanilla Ultramarine warrior.